Hello, Danbury Public Schools. I'm Frank LeBlanc. I'm principal of Westside Middle School Academy, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to speak with you today. Unfortunately, it's not under the best of circumstances, but I did want to spend some time today talking about teaching in a digital environment. How do we do this? How do we effectively communicate with children of Danbury to make an effective learning experience when we can't be with them in the classroom? Now, I want to start by just saying it's really important that we recognize that we have wonderful, wonderful teachers in the Danbury Public Schools, and that doesn't change because we're going to a digital environment. We care about kids. We care about their success. And we're going to be sharing with you today strategies to help making that digital experience productive for you and them. My talk today is really not about clicking here or clicking there. That's part of the process. I want to talk to you about the philosophy associated with being a productive digital learning teacher. There's some strategies that are very, very important to use, and I hope as we discuss them, you find them useful in your pedagogy. If we think about digital learning, we can think about it in two ways. First of all, there are attributes to good digital teaching, and there also needs to be an underlying philosophy to it. And that's what I'm going to spend some time this morning talking with you about. What is the underlying philosophy? Sure, there's software that's valuable. Sure, there's lots of things that work well, but today, what do we need to think about as an educator to be effective in this environment? Okay, so if we think about levels of integration of becoming a digital educator, now the first, we can think about it in three major steps. And first is the idea of retrofitting. Take exactly what we do in the classroom and translate that to a digital classroom. It's generally not a very effective method. If we go back many years ago, say, when you might have been using a chalkboard and an overhead projector, if you were retrofitting, maybe you would take that same content and present it using PowerPoint or some other display mechanism. There's really no change in your pedagogy. There's no change in your practice. It's just using a different tool to do the same thing. We're going to unfortunately have to take a step beyond just retrofitting. We have to go up levels of thinking on this. And we can often think about retooling, and retooling is something you're probably already doing with technology. You're leveraging opportunities that technology gives you to give kids options that they wouldn't have had before. So while kids might be reading and responding, there are vast sources of information that go beyond just what's in the classroom. We've got options that extend the classroom to other sources. But we're doing this and we're thinking about this a lot. How do we reconfigure what we're doing? Practices that work in the classroom do not necessarily translate exactly in a digital environment. So we need to think about ways to reconfigure our classrooms and our classroom environments to take advantage and leverage technology in a different way. And so as we think about the use of technology, we need to think about doing things differently. We can't just be retrofitting. We have to be reconfiguring in a lot of cases. So the Student-Centered Learning Initiative at the Students at the Center Hub talks about the major competencies and skills associated with being a student-centered learning environment. And I'm going to focus solely on personalized learning today. I want you to take a look at this definition. We're talking about students' individual development and needs, but also students developing connections to each other, their teachers, and other adults that support them. And I think this is really the heart of being successful at Danbury Public Schools at doing this digital transformation. Sure, we're going to do adaptive and differentiated things for learning. We're going to provide kids with the opportunities to do things that are at their level. But I want you to never forget in this process that relationships are the key to making this work. You've built them in your classrooms. We know what a wonderful job you do in your classrooms building relationships. But we have to continue that process in our online relationships with kids. They have to be there, they have to be explicit, and they have to be specifically planned for. I think this is where a lot of organizations are falling down right now, is keeping that relationship building going with kids. Okay. And kids need to feel connected. Kids want to feel connected, student to teacher. And I'm sure that's going to be the goal for everyone. But don't forget, there are opportunities for students to be connected to students. And don't forget yourselves in this process either. Teachers need to be connected to teachers as well. We have to purposely plan for that type of connection. Okay. Interaction, therefore, is everything in this process. And I'm going to challenge everyone here to how do you purposefully plan for interaction both synchronously and asynchronously with kids. So right now, I'm doing an asynchronous communication with you. I'm recording myself. I'm sharing with you some ideas. That's how I'm going to interact with you. I also need to think about ways to do it synchronously. And there are a wide range of ways to do this. Not everybody has to get online with a special platform for video and audio communication. While that's great, and we're going to have teachers that are sure going to be doing that sometime soon, you can plan for kids to interact by typing questions, responding to questions, making that personal connection with a child on a regular basis. That's really where the key is at. If we're sending an email to kids at the beginning of the school day and that's our interaction, well, interaction is nothing at that point. It is really critical that we build consistent relationships with kids and have kids know that we're reaching out to them on a regular basis to help them be successful. So please think about interaction in a very careful and meaningful way and plan stuff that you can do at your level that you're comfortable with to make interaction happen for kids. And over the course of the next several weeks, I am sure we'll talk about many ways that you can add to your repertoire. We'll build you things, and we've got super users that are thinking about interaction and making it easy for everybody to do. And if you want to do more sophisticated stuff, then there's options for that as well. Now let's talk about some things that work in the classroom that don't always translate to digital. And these are really important things to consider. First, planning is the key and takes way longer than expected. Now the planning on your part will probably take a little bit longer, but the work that the kids do will probably take longer as well. Kids take a longer time sometimes than what we plan for. Okay, they're being autonomous in a lot of ways. They don't have the ability to have you at their side coaching you along unless you plan for some of that interaction. But even then, it's not like being in the classroom with them all the time. So we got to let the students and the adults know the weekly plan. I don't think we need to be so rooted to a daily plan as much. Daily plans are important, but things change. Feedback we get happens, and will change some of our interpretations. You gotta plan for interaction. That is key to this. I can't stress that enough. Building relationships with kids is everything in this situation, and when you plan for interaction, they will feel connected to you. Okay, we got to include accountability measures. How are you monitoring kids? So think about the ways you monitor kids and give them feedback. Now remember, for kids in this environment, they're home. Everything is homework. Everything is being done at home. So you don't need to overwork the kids because they're going to be stressed enough and challenged enough with the content you're providing on a daily basis that we don't have to overload their workload. They're going to be more overloaded than we think in this process. Now, the whole point of digital is that it's asynchronous. Things do not have to happen all at the same time, and we need to leverage that as an advantage, not as a challenge, okay? So if things are asynchronous, we can take advantage of the fact that maybe mom and dad are available in the afternoon to help a kid do some work, or maybe that's a better time for a child to work, and 8 a.m. is not as critical. And we need to be flexible in the sense in the way we work with kids so they know that the clock is not as critical. Sure, there are going to be milestones of completion, and those are going to take place. We just need to be flexible about planning them. Don't ask for things without some space of time, that they have time to ask you questions, interact with you, talk, get help from siblings, or talk to parents. There's bounds, right? We have to have boundaries. So there is bounded accountability. We're gonna set those boundaries up, but at the same time, we want to make sure we're being flexible enough to let the benefit of being asynchronous take place. Okay. Now remember that students and teachers have varying levels of autonomy in this process, so we have to be sensitive to that. Not everyone's going to do everything the same on the same page, and that's okay. If you're planning for meaningful instruction, you're giving kids the chance to interact, then what you're going to find is that these opportunities are going to be really good and really great in an autonomous situation. Don't forget about choice. We always want to relate to mastering standards. We are a standards-based organization. We believe in standards for kids, and we always have to relate our teaching and learning to the mastering of standards. Now look, if kids can look it up, they're going to do it. So expectations around assessing should really take into account the fact that kids can look stuff up. That should be part of the plan. We should be thinking of how do we let kids do that, access these higher order ideas and concepts, so we're not trying to play a gotcha situation with kids. Think about authentic ways to assess it. Projects are great ways to do this as well. When there are options for projects for kids to demonstrate mastery, I think there's a lot of great power in that. Here's a little image that I want to share with you that I created a number of years ago, thinking about the role of digital and how it plays out. You know, a lot of times, I always say when kids are doing research, we ask them things like, what kind of research do you do? Or I'm doing research on this, or we did research on that. And research sometimes translates to looking stuff up. So kids that look stuff up online or whatever, that's a very consumer-oriented model where knowledge is out there someplace and kids' job is to harness it and access it. And that is very much an important skill that is necessary. However, being a producer is a very important role too. And this is the part I think we can really leverage well in a digital environment. We want kids to be able to produce things, to create things, and to make things that are meaningful, relevant, and important in the process. So please consider giving kids the opportunity to be both consumers of knowledge, but producers of knowledge as well. That powerful cycle gives kids the opportunity to do a lot of different things and allows them to showcase the work they're doing with you. So when I started, I said there was an instructional philosophy, and I hope I've set you up for this now. You know, digital learning leverages high quality, standards-based teaching and learning with many opportunities for interaction. Think about that interaction, because I think that's where so many places are falling down right now, and we can do a great job with that. And we're going to use high levels of student engagement and achievement to promote mastery. So keeping this as a guideline, I think, is really important for the work we're doing in this environment. We want to leverage high quality standards, create interaction, create engagement and achievement, and that's how we're going to get kids to mastery in this environment. I'm going to give you a few pointers along the way too. It is really important that we be device agnostic. And when I say that, the browser, the website, should be the access point for kids. So regardless of whether they have a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, they can access the information in the same way. We don't want to get into specialized software too much, because that takes away from that opportunity if you don't have it. We don't want to be stuck on this idea that I use this software, you use that software. We need to stay away from that environment and really think about the browser as the entry point for kids, so the kids can get in, use the browser, and do things that way. You know, Google Slides can be your best friend in this situation. I'm going to especially do this shout out for the elementary teachers as well. When you use slides, you can set up your plan. They're very, very easy to use. I know some of your PD later on today will be focused on using slides as a template for things. Again, we're going to stay away from Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those types of things, and use Google Slides to be your friend in this process. It will make your job a lot easier, and you can share a lot of stuff between each other. Okay. Tutorial videos are very, very helpful. So please take some time when you're ready. This is not a rush. This is not something you need to do today or tomorrow. But when you can make a short tutorial for kids, that gives a nice asynchronous connection with you and the kids, and they're very, very helpful. They need to be short. You don't want them to be long. Really short, under 5-minute videos for kids to help them out is really, really powerful. I also want you to watch out for ghosts. Now, we have lots of students in our classroom who are present. They're with us all the time. That's that face-to-face relationship. But when we set up an online environment, they might sink away or disappear on us. And it's really, really important, if we're thinking about interaction, to watch out for these situations and watch out for students who become ghosts. We need to stay connected with them and be aware of them. Let's keep track of kids really well and make sure they are getting that interaction that they so need. I hope this gives you something to think about in terms of being a successful digital educator. We're building the plane together. We're doing this together, and we're here to support you in the process. So please make sure your questions come, and we want you to take advantage of your super users. We'll be pushing that information out to you. Who are the people that can help you out and be successful at the building level when you have questions? Please feel free to give us feedback all the time, and we'll give feedback as well. We want to find the best strategy to help the kids of Danbury be as successful as possible in these trying times. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.